Her Excellency Mrs. Saroja Sirisena, High Commissioner for Sri Lanka in the UK. Let me do a very brief introduction. Mrs. Saroja Sirisena, High Commissioner for Sri Lanka in the UK, is a graduate of the University of Melbourne, Australia, and the National School of Administration, France. She is an officer of the Sri Lankan Foreign Service, batch of 1998. Mrs. Sirisena has been in a number of different senior director roles within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Colombo, before she started her overseas postings, including Consul General for Sri Lanka in Mumbai, the United Nations, and the Sri Lankan embassies in Brussels as well as Paris. Mrs. Sirisena was appointed Sri Lankan High Commissioner to the United Kingdom back in March 2020. Immediately prior to that, she served as the ambassador of Sri Lanka to Austria, the permanent representative to the United Nations and international organizations in Vienna. Can I welcome Your Excellency to make your opening remarks and help us get the proceedings underway. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, do you need to change the screen because the format's gone into one screen? I can't see everyone. Okay, back. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's absolutely a delight to be here. And I'm sorry for everyone in Colombo for keeping you so late. But the objective was to have everyone ready to give attention to this very important subject. It is that with that in mind that the Sri Lanka High Commission, together with SLASSCOM and the APSL, decided to bring our collaborative efforts together to bring all of you on this common platform. Sri Lanka is a well-known tourism destination, unfortunately not as well known for our vibrant ICT sector. So I think it is time for us to change that and to bring our vibrant ICT sector to the global attention, to get the attention it deserves. The United Kingdom has perhaps the oldest and strongest and most diverse Sri Lankan communities overseas. And it's perhaps also the best established, which is also why I think SLASSCOM agreed to have this global referral program launched in London. So we're very pleased about that. And this is also emblematic of the vibrance of our communities working together to bring Sri Lankan talent to the global front. APSL has a long-standing relationship with the mission. It was established in 2004, bringing together Sri Lankan professionals based in the United Kingdom together, and they have initiated a number of projects to help Sri Lanka, help Sri Lankans, and also help Sri Lankans settling in the United Kingdom. So it's a very important organization. And the SLASSCOM is the national chamber for the ICT sector. And I have, in my previous position in Colombo in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I have had the good fortune of working with the SLASSCOM on a few very interesting projects. And so it's with this in mind that we want to bring Sri Lanka's ICT sector into the global fore in order that we achieve best results for our country. And as Mr. Mervyn Silva already said, perhaps this is the silver lining in this grey cloud period, this extended grey cloud period. The silver lining is that we are ready to face this situation, the challenges of this situation, this pandemic, and we have the tools and the people to deal with it, and help the Sri Lankan ICT sector take advantage of the opportunities that have been presented in the digital world in this century of the knowledge century, and also with to overcome some of the challenges and drawbacks presented to us in this unfortunate period as well. So it's actually the objective of the government to transform the country, to make Sri Lanka digitally inclusive, to carry all our people with us in this journey. I will not take more of your time. I just want to thank a few people for, especially Dr. Lakmini Mendis for organizing this. Lakmini's done a lot of hard work along with the APSL and SLASSCOM. And I'm particularly pleased to be here with you this evening. I hope your deliberations will be fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, High Commissioner. There is a very brief video called Island of Ingenuity, which gives an overview of Sri Lanka as an island and the technology. So let's take a minute and a half just to think about that. Right, good stuff. Let's move on. I would like to introduce now Dr. Mahesh De Silva. He's the president of the Association of Sri Lankan Professionals in the UK. Mahesh has been the president since May 2019. He joined the association back in 2009 and has served in a number of different roles, such as the executive committee member, vice president in charge of professional development of members, and general secretary. Mahesh holds a BSc degree in electronics and communication engineering from the University of Moratuwa and a PhD in electrical engineering from University of Cambridge. He's a chartered engineer and a member of the Institution of Engineering and Technology. Mahesh currently works as the engineering manager heading the product development of Biochrome Limited, a global scientific instrument manufacturer, which needless to say is very much in a growing, thriving business, very much in demand. Prior to that, he worked as the technical program manager at Jaguar Land Rover, heading up the development team of the first electric car in the UK, Jaguar I-Pace. Mahesh holds 8 global patents and serves as the coordinator of Commonwealth Science and Technology Network, and also as a mentor of the Queen's Young Leaders Program. Over to you, Mahesh.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you for the introduction. It is certainly a pleasure to collaborate with the Sri Lanka High Commission and SLASSCOM to deliver this webinar and help promote the Sri Lankan IT BPM sector in the UK. As a professional association, APSL was formed to support the Sri Lankan community both in the UK as well as Sri Lanka. And we are quite happy to support the Sri Lankan businesses during this challenging time. APSL was formed in 2004, and over the past 16 years, we have been highly active both in the UK and Sri Lanka, supporting our members and Sri Lankan community in the UK, as well as delivering a number of highly successful relief programs to Sri Lanka. In the UK, APSL regularly organize a number of events and projects for the benefit of our members and Sri Lankan community in the UK. To name a few, as the expert series and young professionals events we organize to showcase leading Sri Lankan professionals. And we have a We Sri Lanka event to promote the reconciliation among the communities. Living in the UK series, student engagement and APSL mentoring scheme for young Sri Lankans, and research symposium to give a platform for young researchers to present their research findings. In Sri Lanka, we continue to deliver our relief and sustainable development programs. To name a few, the scholarship scheme and student essentials project for school children, solar villages for sustainable development for rural communities, emergency relief fund to support Sri Lankans during emergencies such as natural disasters and particularly COVID, cancer relief and chronic kidney disease relief programs, and the APSL awards. 2019-20 was a highly productive year for APSL. We continue to grow the initiatives from last year and improved our community engagement both in the UK and Sri Lanka. The scholarship scheme, one of the most successful programs of APSL, marked its 5th anniversary last year and currently supporting over 80 students in Sri Lanka. One of the major initiatives we launched last year was the Florence De Silva Memorial Fund for Children. With kind donations through late Ms. Florence De Silva's will, APSL set up his initiative to support Sri Lankan children in numerous ways. So far, we supported 17 projects and donated over 1.6 million rupees for good causes. We have also made significant progress with the APSL Solar Village project, and the 3rd solar village is nearing completion in Mullaitiya district. This year we expanded the cancer relief program, which was going for some time, by establishing a number of new centers across the country to support cancer patients in Sri Lanka. When COVID-19 pandemic started affecting the whole world in the beginning of this year, APSL started exploring the ways to support the Sri Lankan affected both in the UK and Sri Lanka. We launched APSL Emergency Response Fund in March to support Sri Lankans financially through the Emergency Response Fund. We supported over 1,600 families in various parts of Sri Lanka and provided PPE and equipment to 9 key hospitals. We also launched a webinar series in April to support Sri Lankans by providing guidance and information. The webinars featured timely topics such as employment, immigration, economy, mindfulness, as well as COVID-19 tests, treatments, and vaccines. Those webinars were delivered by leading professionals in their respective fields. We will certainly continue to engage with SLASSCOM and other like-minded organizations in the coming months and years to support the Sri Lankan community in both in Sri Lanka as well as UK. And with that, I would like to end my short introduction, and I really hope you'll all enjoy this webinar and find it highly productive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you very much. Now, we are moving on to the speakers from Sri Lanka, talking about the key topics that we are going to cover. So this is the opportunity as people speak. If you want to key in your questions while they are fresh in your mind, this is an opportunity for us to see and raise them at the end. So let me move on to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sanjay Mohottala, Director General of Board of Investment in Sri Lanka, BOI. Mr. Mohottala assumed duties in March 2020 as Director General of the Board of Investment and the Investment Promotion, which is the Investment Promotion Agency of the Government of Sri Lanka. Mr. Mohotala holds a BSc degree in Electronic and Telecommunications Engineering and postgraduate qualifications in Management Accountancy, CIMA, and membership of Chartered Institute of Management, both in UK. Mr. Mohotala is a Fulbright scholar who completed his MBA in Entrepreneurship and Strategy at University College of Los Angeles, Anderson School of Management. Having worked for Unilever Sri Lanka as brand manager, Mr. Mohotala joined the Boston Consultancy Group, a leading global management consultancy, and served as the managing director and partner. Since March 2020, in addition to serving in the BOI, he also serves as the board member at Sri Lankan Airlines, Export Development Board, EDB, and the Economic Revival Task Force. Mr. Mohotala, over to you.
Thank you, Moin, for the kind introduction. Just give me 1 second. I'm just trying to get the presentation on for your. Right. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Sure.
Great. Thanks, Moin, again for the kind introduction, and Her Excellency Saroja and ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thanks for inviting me to join this occasion. And I would like to take you through a couple of slides to talk about investment opportunities in Sri Lanka and why investing in IT sector in Sri Lanka matters. Meaning, if you just look at just why Sri Lanka for the audience, just to give a quick introduction. Well, Sri Lanka is home to close to 1,200 enterprises, out of which 100 plus enterprises are from UK, employing close to about 35,000 people in Sri Lanka. And majority of these companies are technology-related companies. And one of the notable companies here is, of course, the LSE's acquisition of Millennium IT some time ago. Over the past years, there's been about $7 billion worth of FDI coming into Sri Lanka. Most of them has been around manufacturing and technology-driven industries. Going forward, what opportunities does this country offer? One of the things you would have seen is that the Sri Lankan people have given a resounding backing for the reformist agenda that the president has put forward about a year ago, and has given two-thirds majority for the parliament on in the recently concluded election to bring about the change that they look for. So if we were to go by the economic development agenda that was put forward by the president, we are looking to unleash a decade of growth where the country is expected to grow around 5 to 7% per annum GDP post the COVID recovery for a period of 10 years. So just to put that in context, that means that the economy is going to double in a span of about 10 years post COVID recovery. And there are certain sectors that have been identified as the trust sectors, where both EDB and BOI is leading in terms of promoting exports from EDB point of view, and from BOI point of view, attracting investments to grow these trust sectors. And ICT is one of those key sectors. Why is that? If you think about this chart, every country goes through a factory-driven economy to an investment-driven economy to a knowledge-driven economy in their lifetime in terms of the growth point of view. So Sri Lanka, being an open economy for the last 42 years, we've started from a factory-driven economy. We are right now somewhere in the middle of being an investment-driven economy. But for us to keep our competitive edge, we need to continue to move towards the right, where we have to be a more knowledge-driven economy. And this is one of the key pillars that the president has identified and outlined in his policy statements as well. Now, what would that mean for ICT sector in the next 5 years? If you look at ICT today, it's in terms of exports, it's about a $1.2 billion industry. Some of the noteworthy companies are the exits that we have seen where the private equity companies have bought into WSO2 and other companies who've been interested in terms of the early stage financing. The ITC sector employs about 146,000 people today on the ground, direct employment. There is a nascent but vibrant startup ecosystem with about 500 startups today. And if you look at the entire IT stack, there are around 4 subsectors, which is very clearly or prominently featured, which is the analytics, KPBPO, IT-related training centers, services, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the SLASSCOM and BOI, we have been working together, is to move with 1.2 billion to $2 to $3 billion in the next 5 years and create employment for 200,000 to 300,000 people within Sri Lanka, and to move from a 500 company ecosystem to a 1,000 company ecosystem in the next 5 years, and see how we could really take advantage of our inherent capabilities and the talent pool to build niche capabilities and segments that is world beating in Sri Lanka. Now, yeah, if you look at like why IT companies have been coming to Sri Lanka, it's mainly because of the talent pool. And why is that? Because the Sri Lankan governments provide basic education for all the students leading up to university education. And we have 15 state universities and 19 higher education institutes. Sri Lanka is ranked as #1 in South Asia's literacy rate in terms of compulsory secondary education. We have close to about 30,000 graduates who are coming out of the universities. There's a program introduced by the government to make sure that all these graduates who are coming out of the university has a 1-year minimum IT education program or IT skilling program, regardless of the degree. Whether you do commerce, whether you do languages, whether you do political sciences, all these graduates will have some sort of ICT training coming in. In addition, we have close to about 100,000 vocational trainers. We are the second largest pool of CIMA graduates, and English is widely spoken in the country. So if you look at all these, one of the main reasons why the companies come to Sri Lanka is the talent, and that is what is in abundance. Not only that, like SLASSCOM, BOI with the Ministry of Education and the Economic Revival Task Force, we are really making sure that we future-proof the talent pool. That is about making sure that we have enough ICT graduates to accommodate all this rapid growth in the ICT or the interest in the ICT segment in the future. We are looking at expanding from 1,000 odd focused ICT graduates to close to about 25,000. Engineering sciences from about 4,000, 10,000. It's not just the numbers that what matters. What's really important is to make sure that we continue to maintain the quality of what Sri Lanka stands for in terms of the IT graduates point of view. For which with BOI, we look at establishing at least 4 private universities to be able to cater to this and also support the talent demand in addition to the existing national universities, which will expand their capabilities. We have a program with the Vocational Training Institute already to reskill and upskill a large portion of the talent pool, which is today more manufacturing oriented, to an ICT or service orientation on a gradual point of view. There is a budget recommendation that we have put forward to set up a national fund where the government will co-sponsor or finance certain skill development related to ICT and upskilling of the workforce. And as I mentioned, ICT is being included as a compulsory stream in most of the state universities. Well, as a company, if you look at Sri Lanka, one of the things that we offer or we try to offer is the ease of doing business, and that's why BOI steps in and made sure that all interagency cooperation is done in a way that any company who's going to set up will get the approvals and get the sites and the talent they require and all the other services in the fastest and the most I would say, the least cumbersome way. So in terms of ease of doing business, yes, there's much to desire for, but that's where BOI steps in and make sure that the investors are clearly looked for in terms of ease of doing business. Well, Sri Lanka, this is just a snapshot. I'm not saying this is exclusive, meaning exhaustive by any means. Just to give an idea, Sri Lanka house for very well-known entities in terms of the service segment and also in terms of product companies in service segment, whether it is the HCL, the Accenture, the HSBCs in the world, or in the product companies, you have the WSO2s, the Virtusas, the Informatics, the London Stock Exchange, and so on and so forth, and the core gens, which powers most of the airlines and the cruise ships, or whether it is theme parks and so on and so forth in the world. Just want to give you an example of how companies have discovered Sri Lanka as a hidden gem, or island of ingenuity as we call it. Just want to share with you a success story, and the story that the path that HCL went through this year. So HCL came to Sri Lanka back early in January 2020, to set up a 500-seat disaster recovery entity in Sri Lanka to be able to get to the talent pool, to their customers. As they looked to recruit the talent pool, what they realized was the talent offered in Sri Lanka, or the quality of talent in Sri Lanka, was way higher than the talent that they were getting in India in certain cities or in other parts of the world. And they quickly decided to expand to 1,500 seats. This is while they were setting up the entity or the establishment in Sri Lanka. So since January to July, while they were establishing, they said, look, they came to us and said, can we have permission to set up a 1,500 seat capacity? Which we said, yes, of course. And by the time when it came to September, where the establishment was inaugurated by the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and DOI, and of course the dignitaries from HCL, their commitment to Sri Lanka was that they're going to set up a 5,000 plus seat establishment or workforce in the next 3-5 years. Now, this just gives you, in summary, what a hidden gem Sri Lanka has been, and we are truly an island of ingenuity. And many companies who have come to Sri Lanka to start small have quickly ramped up. So I think that's one of the things that I would encourage anyone on the call to think about Sri Lanka and really come and invest. In terms of investment incentives and what the ICT sector offers, given that ICT sector is a thrust sector that has been identified, outlined in the budget as well as in the manifesto, there's no corporate tax right now for the ICT sector. The requirement for investment, in terms of investment to start the business, we have lowered it to enable even smaller companies to come and establish businesses in Sri Lanka. One thing that not many people talk about is that quite a few Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, whether it is in Europe, whether it is in Silicon Valley, who have started their investments or started their startup companies, they do their development in Sri Lanka and the back-end development. So I would say that's one of the reasons that we have lowered the minimum requirement for the investment to set up an ICT company in Sri Lanka. So we would provide exemption from custom duty for importation of capital goods and construction material, whatever you need when you're setting up a company. And you can have 100% foreign ownership. There's no restrictions. There's no need for joint venture partnerships. You can set up 100% owned foreign companies in Sri Lanka, and the dividend is expectable without any encumbrances. And of course, one of the things that we have introduced, or we're planning to introduce, is a visa facilitation process for anyone who wants to come and make Sri Lanka their investment destination for the talent requirements and also for the investors to stay in Sri Lanka, be productive and contribute to the economy as well as the companies. The other thing that we have put forward in the budget is to make sure that any R&D that's done in the country or for an entity, to make sure it's 100% tax deductible. So in a nutshell, this is what Sri Lanka offers. in terms of the opportunities, in terms of strategic focus, in terms of the talent pool, in terms of the ecosystem that we have, and of course the incentives that we provide as a country to attract the ICT segment that we need for the country. So I would say anyone who is on the phone, any interest that you, meaning the interest that you show to Sri Lanka, I hope that will convert into investments in the country. And if there's anything that DOI that we could do to help you facilitate that, we are here to do that, and look forward to help you in your journey in setting up and exploring and exploiting the opportunity that Sri Lanka offers to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay, for the very nice introduction to Sri Lanka, the economy and the opportunities. Yeah, we can see questions coming in, which we'll take up later on. So moving on from there, before we go to the next speaker, we have the longer version of the video, the little test that you had earlier on, the Island of Ingenuity. This will take about 3 minutes. It will build on the original theme and what Sanjay shared with us so far in a more visual way. So let's take a quick look at the video.
The London Stock Exchange receives over 20,000 round-trip orders a second. Our software solutions enable that. Cisco processes 10,000 orders per hour. Our software solutions enable that too. Expedia facilitated over $88 billion worth of bookings in 2017. We're part of that as well. And the list of companies and brands around the world that use Sri Lankan solutions, platforms and technology goes on. Great technology is achieved through ingenuity. Sri Lanka has a lot of it, and the world's coming to us for it. Sri Lankan IT firms create revolutionary IP products, impacting users across the globe, and our vibrant startup ecosystem generates innovations that are transforming a multitude of industries. Sri Lankan IT experts are all about fast turnaround times, agile working, and value-added solutions. We pride ourselves on our ability to deliver high productivity, quality, and ingenuity. Sri Lankan IT companies have been on the digital frontier for over 30 years, making us one of the world's favorite IT BPM destinations. The island's connected to the internet by 7 submarine cables, clocking ultra-high speed. On land, Tier 3 data centers, world-class connectivity speeds, and region-leading network infrastructure give Sri Lanka a technological edge. We've got world-class local universities and the top international universities operating in Sri Lanka, producing some of the best IT talent in the world. 80,000 plus now and counting. Our IT professionals are our difference. They're adept at open source, obsessed with adding value to knowledge solutions, and innovating everything. Sri Lankan IT experts are naturally tech-savvy, adaptable, and vibrant. Sri Lankans are excellent communicators and collaborators, able to work across markets, and IT companies around the world want them. We've even won the Google Summer of Code 9 times in a row. Region-leading infrastructure and ICT literacy make Sri Lanka the preferred testbed for anyone wanting to enter large Asian markets. Sri Lanka's commercial laws, vibrant living environment, FTAs with neighboring nations, and high rankings on South Asian business-related indices places us in a unique position to host regional headquarters and captive operations. Being the home of over 140,000 professional accountants, Sri Lanka is also a preferred destination for the finance and accounting industry, offering high-end analytics and a broad spectrum of FAO services. Imagine a sincere service, top-of-the-line thinking, and next-gen tech in a picturesque tropical island. Who said you can't mix work and pleasure? Sri Lanka's got it all. The experience, the people, the technology, and the drive to become the world's next big IT and BPM hub. Sri Lanka's an island of creators, innovators, and engineers. Always thinking, how can we make something better? That's our difference. We're an island of ingenuity.
Hope you like that video. That takes me very nicely to the next speaker. That's Mr. Channa Manoharan. Channa is the president. Channa is the chairman of the Sri Lankan Association of Software Service Companies, SLASSCOM. He took up the role of the chairman in July 2020, and he served as the vice chairman from July 2018. He has been a board member of SLASSCOM since 2015. Mr. Manoharan is a member of the leadership team, the chief operating officer and advisory leader of PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, for Sri Lanka and Maldives. Channa has over 25 years of experience in the 3 of the 4 biggest professional services firms. During his career, he has been extensively involved in providing management consulting and advisory services to multinationals and multilateral agencies in relation to business transformation, including growth strategy encompassing organic and inorganic growth. Let's welcome Mr. Channa Manoharan.
Thanks, Mervyn. Thanks, Mervyn, for that kind introduction. And it's indeed a great pleasure to be among our Sri Lankans in UK and all over the world. And it's absolutely, I think, an opportune time for us to collaborate with APSL and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the BOI to put out the Sri Lankan brand out there in the international markets. If you look at the world today, I think it's a time for great opportunity, and as we go through a tremendous disruption, and also not only in business but also in the digital disruption that is taking place. And I think it has also, the current pandemic has actually accelerated the digital journey for many of the organizations that are out there. I think therein lies the opportunity for most of us in the industry to capitalize on the opportunity there. Dilanga, could you load the slide deck, please, whilst we are talking? So let me continue whilst the deck comes into play. So I think
We lost Channa's voice.
yeah, I think I'm waiting for the control to be given on the
Sure.
technology side. So I think so as the world gets, I'm sorry, Dilanga, can you give me control of the screen? Thank you. So as the world gets disrupted and the traditional business models gets challenged, what does Sri Lanka got to offer in this whole journey? What is being demanded out there is beyond a mere service delivery. What's being demanded is thought partnerships, collaborative service providers, and also ingenuity in the way IT companies and service providers deliver disruption collaboratively with their clients. This very well lends into our value proposition especially the ingenuity in our talent, which is sort of, it lends very well into the innate abilities that we Sri Lankans take great pride in, which is the creativity, the innovation, the agility and collaboration. If you look at most of the companies who are set up here and most of the clients that our companies service, both in the services space, the IT and the BPM space and the products space, the general consensus is that the Sri Lankan talent is beyond mere taking instructions and doing work. We are known for being innovative. We are known for being collaborative. Our talent is known to be doing beyond the normal call of duty. And therefore, we see a high stickiness in the work that we do and the repeat business that our companies get to Sri Lanka. So what's our industry strategy? Our talent is at present known for their highly skilled product engineering capabilities. So we will continue to position Sri Lanka's product engineering capabilities via the captive innovation strategy, where we will attract international companies to come and set up their R&D centers here, continue to innovate and improve their products and accelerate the digital transformation, not only within their companies, but also for their own industries. The second value proposition that we offer as a country is the digital gateway to Asia. If any investor, whether big or small, wants to enter the Asian continent and do business, Sri Lanka's the high infrastructure, the high quality talent, and the strategic location and the friendly disposition towards our Asian neighbors basically gives us an advantage for most companies to come and test their concepts and ideas, and it's a fantastic test bed where they can launch their services and products to the region. The third opportunity is in the IP and the product innovation space, where we have digital disruptors like the WSO tools who are giving a fantastic run to the IBMs of the world in the middleware space, and also teams who are small teams of 20 odd people who can be world beaters in disruption and the IP products that they can create. And therefore, there's opportunity for companies to come and benefit in investing in such digital disruptors, or to come and start greenfield innovation projects here and to benefit from the ingenuity of our talent. So these are not only what we are bragging about as Sri Lankans, the accolades that our industry has received from authoritative sources has been consistent over the years. Last year, the GSA, the Global Sourcing Association of UK, named Sri Lanka as the delivery destination of the year. A.T. Kearney ranked Sri Lanka in their Global Services Index, Location Index, first in the financial attractiveness. Talons ranked Sri Lanka in the 34th globally in digital as digital nation in their Services Location Index in 2019. We are in the Global Innovation Index 2019. We ranked second in South Asia when it comes to intellectual property protection, second in South Asia in terms of Global Competitiveness Index, top 10 in Asia in terms of Network Readiness Index, and fourth in South Asia in Doing Business Index. Consistently over the years, our talent in the universities have been winning, coming tops in the summer of code of Google, and had won several awards in IEEE and Microsoft Imagine events. So we are not bragging without any credentials or credibility. And this is what Sri Lanka's innate ability has been recognized, not only locally, but also globally. Sorry, give me a second. So I think in addition to the companies that Sanjay alluded to, we service not only big companies. We also service smaller companies within our industry. In addition to we have a good, highly trainable individuals with good cognitive English language skills. Sanjay alluded to the quantity of talent that we have and the initiatives that the government is taking in collaboration with industry bodies in trying to improve not only the supply but also the employability of our talent. We have, in terms of our total industry, about 115,000 people employed currently in both IT and BPM. We also have a good female representation in our workforce. In terms of inclusiveness, and also most of our talent 60% of our talent comes from outside the Western Province. However, we see a concentration of the IT companies in the Western Province as it stands now. Free, accessible, and inclusive education and healthcare provided thus far has complemented the Human Development Index, human development in Sri Lanka, that we see in the talent and that we provide, the stability that we provide when it comes to our industry. We rank in all our key indicators, whether it be education or healthcare infrastructure. The continuous investments that our government has made is very visible when you compare to our regional peers and competitive countries in our for industry. So in addition to the strong the talent that we have in product engineering and software engineering, the industry is collaborating in a public-private partnership model in creating what you call industry accelerators. The 8 essentials that the PwC's survey on technology, future technology, alludes to, that if we as any country does not keep pace with the emerging technology, those countries will be lagging behind. We have now set up several centers of excellence focusing on creating a future-ready industry and a future-ready talent pool. And some of the initiatives that are listed out there. The Product and Platform Council is a center of excellence where we are trying to promote Sri Lanka's capabilities in product engineering and to create technology and product platform companies who will be world beaters in the next 5 years. We also just moved to the AI Center of Excellence. There too, we want to position Sri Lanka's key competency in AI in Asia. We are working with both international partnerships as well as academia partnerships in our journey in AI. The Cybersecurity Center of Excellence was in fact launched 2 weeks back. Our aim is to leverage on the market prospects in cyber and to create a talent pool of 10,000 to 20,000 in the next 5 years to cater to the global demand. So what are the key inputs and that is required for a vibrant technology space? And one among them is to create second-tier cities outside Colombo, the Western Province. So for that, we need quality road networks and rail networks. And here too, the continuous improvements and investments made by government in the last 10 years has landed very well, and wherein we fare very, very well in most of the competitive indices when it comes to infrastructure and transport and utility infrastructure. Telecommunication infrastructure is one of the key areas for the development of our industry. Sri Lanka has seen many firsts in this space. We in fact were the first to liberalize our industry in this region. And if you look at the early adoption in technology, whether it be 4G and also trials that were done in 5G, Sri Lanka were one of the early catalysts in the region. When it comes to availability of bandwidth and bandwidth penetration, mobile penetration, we rank among best in the region. When it comes to bandwidth cost, Sri Lanka has been ranked among 8 out of 230 countries when it comes to the bandwidth cost as well. So all these lens went to a lens very well into why we have such a strong financially attractive industry having ability to compete in the global stage. When it comes to technology parks, we have dedicated technology parks offering state-of-the-art facilities with plans to add more capacity. At present, we have 3.2 million square feet of office space with a fair mix of grade A and grade B working spaces. We also have co-working spaces which are available on a plug-and-play basis. So therefore, anybody who wants to set up operations can have immediately access to a plug-and-play operation with 1 seats going up to even 100 seats. In addition to the existing co-working spaces, we have the Port City project, which is coming up, and that is expected to add another 13 million square feet to the Sri Lanka's the office space availability. So therefore, I think I'm aware that the BOI, along with government, is also trying to create several IT parks are in the plans. So therefore, it comes to being ready in terms of office space and infrastructure. I think we are actually going in the right direction. Sanjay alluded to some of the protection that we have. Sri Lanka has a very good treaties and policy strengthening the sector. We have 28 bilateral investment promotion and protection treaties. In addition to that, we are signatory to the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, and also protects safeguards to investors here in Sri Lanka. In addition to that, Sri Lanka has a cybersecurity and data protection bill, which has been drafted and tabled. We expect that to be enacted very soon. In addition to that, many individual companies in the industry align themselves with the European Union's GDPR, and therefore that provides comfort when they do business with the UN and region, including UK. Sri Lanka is also party to 7 international IP protection treaties, including the Madrid Protocol. We produce, as a trade chamber, we produce several research publications, which is made available to the stakeholders. There are several publications which are on the way. Some of them are freely available and can be downloaded, and others are available for purchase. We collaborate extensively with the BOI, the EDB, and the ICTA, and also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our foreign missions in furthering the industry's cause and to take Sri Lanka towards the government's target of 3 billion investment, 3 billion exports, and 200,000 highly skilled workforce. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you, Chan, for that comprehensive view of the IT industry and the opportunities within Sri Lanka. Now we are moving on to the last but not least of our speakers, Mr. Mudit Uswath, and he's actually addressing the key theme of our webinar today, the SLASSCOM Marketing Forum lead, and he's introducing the partnership program. So let me briefly introduce Mudit. Mudit has been leading the marketing forum of SLASSCOM from July 2020. This forum's mandate is to champion the Sri Lankan IT BTM brand under the brand of Island of Ingenuity and increase export revenue for the industry. Mudit is the Director of Sales and Marketing at Calci Technologies, a digital product engineering services provider. He has set up partnership networks for Calci in Europe and UK and visits London regularly to meet with Calci partners and clients. So let's welcome Mr. Mudit Uswath.
Thanks, Mervyn. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Let me just start presenting my slides.
Okay,
I hope I'm clearly audible to everyone.
you are.
So
yeah.
once again, thank you very much, everyone that joined in, and my sincere gratitude to all the parties that pitched in to organize this event, the APSL as well as the embassy that support us in getting this very interesting gathering together. So without further ado, let me jump right into it. I hope that at this point, Sanjay and Channa have laid the groundwork and got you all interested and curious about the Sri Lankan IT sector. So it's my job right now to show you a tangible, simple way that you can get involved in the IT sector immediately. So think of this as an easy way to jump in and get a feel for the sector, as well as to start immediately working with some of the interesting companies in the sector. So that is the SLASSCOM referral program. These are the points that I'll be looking to cover within the next 10 to 15 minutes. I know that we've run slightly over time, but if you can stay around for the next few minutes, I'm quite sure that we'd be able to make it worth it. So let me start off by giving you a sense of the thinking behind the referral program. So as many of the speakers before me pointed out, Sri Lanka has produced very notable technology companies, the likes of the London Stock Exchange Group's technology arm, formerly known as Millennium IT, one of the landmark technology exits by a Sri Lankan company at the time, as well as companies like WSO2, which is a world leader in middleware technology, and Cisco Labs, for instance, again, an acquisition by a very large US company. And all of these companies had a few things in common. So the common ingredients were that the founders had a global network or global experience prior to starting the company. And in some cases, they've had partners, directors, and so forth, other collaborators who were present physically in their target markets. So they had a direct line to the people that they were pitching to. And in other cases, they had access to global markets via their global set of investors that brought that global touch and a global set of contacts with them. So what we see now is that another new generation of Sri Lankan companies are there, and they are poised for global growth. So this set of companies can very much take the same route, but what they need help with right now is to increase their visibility in the target markets. They need ways to get introduced to potential clients, and ways and means to build long-term lasting relationships with them. So of course, the easy route to take would be to set up shop in each target market. And for a lot of companies, it's for a lot of Sri Lankan companies, they're primarily eyeing the Western markets, UK being a key market. But that's a high risk option. And that also is prohibitively expensive, particularly for a company that is at the cusp of hitting a steep growth curve. So what we are looking at is essentially a way to ease the process of making a business introduction to a company, to an IT company, and benefiting from it. So let me try and explain this with a concrete example. So all of you all are expats. Let's say, for instance, some of you might be working in the IT sector, and in the course of your work or through your professional network, let's say you come across an opportunity for a services or a product sale, for a company to pitch for a services or a product sale. So if you were to, on your own, funnel this to a Sri Lankan company, you would need to go through a series of steps. Firstly, you would need to look at, do some research, find which Sri Lankan companies are suitable and relevant for this particular inquiry, reach out to them, get connected with the right people, either the marketing heads or the company heads, get their collateral back, do some evaluation, see whether they are fit for the purpose, see whether you can work with them and whatnot. And at the end of that long process, you might end up making a joint pitch. And if all of that, all of those ducks line up nicely, you would still have the sort of the uncertainty around whether this company will honor whatever agreement that you make with them and so forth. Because obviously, you know, in most cases, it's going to be a company that you meet via some online platform or through a random email or phone call. So what we are doing is essentially cutting that process short and making it a much more seamless, safe, and easy process for you to participate in. So as you can see on the slide here, we are collating a set of companies that cover a popular set of services that are in much demand, and a set of interesting product companies as well. I saw a few questions about product companies on the chat thread. So product companies are, yes, included. And then SLASSCOM will play a facilitator role between the companies in this program and you as the referrers that can step in and funnel interesting business opportunities to this program. So they will connect you with the right person in the company. And SLASSCOM has also brought these companies in bound by a common MOU. So the companies are bound by a certain set of commercial conduct guidelines, which will mean that you have a lot more certainty and a lot more safety in dealing with them as opposed to, let's say, a random company that you find on the net. So to give you a quick run through of the product and service verticals that we're looking at, we are firstly looking at unique products and solutions. So these would be Sri Lankan homegrown product companies that are looking to go global and are ready for the global market. Then we are looking at a number of service verticals, everything from software development to business process outsourcing to knowledge process outsourcing, as well as digital agencies and AI and machine learning related service providers. And I know that the concept of making a referral might be slightly alien to some of you. So I want to break this down in a lot of detail and give you as much visibility as possible. So let me kind of walk you through the process here. So as I said before, what we expect from a referrer, and it could be any one of you on this call today actually, would be, now there would be a process for the referrers to sign up with us. We will go into that in the next few slides. In the event a referrer gets a lead in their respective market, and we will be rolling this out globally, not limited to the UK market in any way. And the referrer would forward that to SLASSCOM, and there would be a ready set of companies that are relevant for that service or product, and SLASSCOM would be readily able to share those profiles with the referrer. The referrer would then be connected with the companies he or she wishes to work with, and can, at their own discretion, choose the most suitable companies for the particular opportunity. So the company and referrer would reach an agreement on their own. It would be a commercial agreement between two parties as to how they would want to pitch for this business together. And SLASSCOM would play a facilitator role in making the connection, but would step away at this point. So the two parties have the freedom to reach an agreement that suits them, and we would play a role in sort of following up and figuring out whether the business actually ended up materializing, what the outcome was, and so forth. So the value that SLASSCOM brings in the equation is, firstly, it creates this repository of ready information that can be shared, cutting short this otherwise long process of selecting the right company for the opportunity. And it creates opportunities for the referrers and the companies to get to know each other. Just like this webinar, we expect in future to organize webinars for different product companies that fit into a certain product category, or different services companies that fit into a common category, to interact with you, to present you their services and capabilities. So we will increasingly create more opportunities for you and the companies to connect directly. So to give you a quick idea about where we are today, we are just about to close entries of Sri Lankan companies joining the program. It's happening as we speak. The deadline is the end of the month, and there's a lot of interest. So we are oversubscribed by a fair amount. And we are in the process of creating this resource center that I was referring to, where the referrers can easily log in and browse collateral and offering related to each company that they would be looking to work with. And of course, as I said before, we would be creating a content dissemination strategy that would allow you to connect and get to know these companies better. So who can be a referrer? I guess that's the big question now. The program is optimally suited for people working in the IT BPM sectors, but it's in no way restricted to that particular segment. So anyone with a good standing in their community and a good business network could step in and take up this challenge. And others interested, perhaps, let's say, for instance, university students or researchers interested in building up connections with the Sri Lankan IT BPM industry could take it up as well. And what would we be expecting from the referrers? I think it's quite necessary to make this clear as well. So firstly, it could start off by simply helping to spread the word, getting the word about different Sri Lankan companies involved in this program out there. It could be via sharing content that's shared with you, so that your network gets visibility to that. And then some of that content might generate interest from among your network and hopefully create opportunities which you could then in turn connect companies from the program with. And then finally, you could form win-win partnerships with proven companies in the program and continue to work with them in the long term. That's very much our end vision for the program. So why now? I think that's an interesting question. It's a funny time to launch this type of program. On the one hand, I'm sure a lot of you are facing different stressors in your work and your financial matters. So is this really the time that anyone would think of helping the home country or things like that? I think all of that's true and very valid, but at the same time, it is absolutely the best time for anyone to start thinking about widening their career options and diversifying their sources of revenue. So this could be an excellent opportunity to do just that. And from the point of view of the companies are desperate right now. A lot of them are reeling from this hit, and they're looking at technology as the solution. They're looking for technology to deliver, technology to be their savior. But at the same time, they have limited budgets. They have all kinds of limitations. So I think it presents the best opportunity that we've had in a long time for companies to look at an out-of-the-box solution. And going by everything that Sanjay and Channa presented, I hope that you are now convinced that Sri Lanka is one of those solutions. So what can you as a referrer stand to gain from getting involved in this program? So firstly, there is always a very direct way of benefiting, which is where you make a business introduction that results in a business win for that company that you choose to work with. You could reach an agreement with them that rewards you in such cases with finder's fees and commissions. And then secondly, you could go a step further. If you prove yourself as someone capable of making strategic introductions, it's very likely that some of these companies will reach out to you and invite you to join as advisors and directors and so forth. And then thirdly, and I saw a question from one person about what SLASSCOM is doing to help people trying to move back to Sri Lanka. So this is an excellent way to build a strong relationship with Sri Lankan IT tech entrepreneurs that can be leveraged for a lot when you get back home. So let me now jump onto a few case studies to show you that this partner and referral model that we're talking about is not really a pie in the sky idea. It's something that's done and done quite regularly in our market, and that we are not reinventing the wheel. So Calci Technologies is my company. So let me speak from personal experience here. So Kelsey has been a bespoke product development company, has been in business for a long time, since 2002, in fact, but always focused on the US market. So in 2017, we entered UK via our first client, secured, naturally via a partner relationship. And since then, in the last 3 years or so, we've secured 10 plus accounts, large scale clients, all secured via introductions either from existing clients or partners that we brought on board. So it's been an extremely successful business model for expansion for us. So we've not entered just UK using this model. We've entered other regions as well, for instance, Scandinavia. And today, 70% of the company's revenues comes from introductions secured via either partners or existing clients. So this just goes to show the power of introduction, because at the end of the day, I think most business happens not via people researching who's a possible vendor for me on the internet and making a selection. It happens via people asking their network, who has delivered this product or service to you and done it well, and going with that call. So let me take another example. Award-winning Sri Lankan company, a product company that develops and distributes a solution for digitize board governance and meetings. It's called BoardPack, and I think the stats would give you some indication of their reach and the scale they're operating. So they have offices in a number of countries around the world, and they've entered some very large markets via introductions to leading telcos, introductions to companies that offer complementary products and services. For instance, one of their expat Sri Lankan directors, I've introduced them to a company called LifeSize, which is essentially a competitor to Zoom, which will essentially take them to market in the US. So there's been a number of ways that this company has leveraged introductions. And incidentally, the founder of the company, Lakmini, is on the call today. So if any of you want to kind of pick her personal experience, we'd be happy to take that up during the Q&A session. Let me quickly move on to another example. So this is just just goes to show the power of relationships. So Loop Solution is a digital agency offering digital advertising and online marketing services. And they have entered a number of markets, including Australia, Qatar, and others, leveraging old boys and old girls unions, very strong networks in the Sri Lankan context, and set up even direct offices in some of those markets via those contacts. So today, they've grown their footprint from being just a Sri Lankan agency to a truly global one, and done that in a very short period of time. So I can keep going, but I think at this stage, most of you would probably be interested in figuring out what the next step would be. So that would be for you to show interest by filling out this form. So we will share this on the chat thread right now. Dilanka, if you could please go ahead and share this URL on the chat thread. It just asks for a few pieces of information. And if you fill that up, a SLASSCOM representative, someone from the marketing forum, would be getting in touch with you very shortly. And we will guide you through the process of signing up as a referral. So that is it from me. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. And please feel free to reach out over email as well. Back to you, Marvin.
Thank you, Mudit. Thank you for that very comprehensive explanation of how the process works, and to help everybody understand it, and what steps to take if you want to take it any further. That very nicely brings us to the end of the presentations and our time for some question and answers. We have a number of questions questions have been coming through during the presentation. So the best thing would be for me to read them out loud so everybody can hear it, and the correct person, appropriate person from the panel could take up and answer that. The first one, it appears to be more suitable for you, Udit. The first one says, let me just turn to the right page. There we are. Yeah. Can a company be a referrer as a corporate entity as opposed to an individual?
Yes, great question, Mervin. Indeed. Speaking from my personal experience, now we are a software development company. So a company, let's say for instance, a UX consultancy that would typically work with clients to flesh out the design of a digital product and then hand them off to some developer could easily work with us because it's a very complementary fit. And can easily come on board. So we've had experiences working with multiple companies and forming partnerships of that nature, where the two companies have complementary services and the partnership benefits both parties. So in the example that I was talking about, instead of letting go of that client, the UX agency would be keeping that relationship going, earning more revenue as well as continuing the relationship with the client for a longer term.
Okay, thank you for that. I think the second one also seems to be, you could answer, will there be a limit of SLASSCOM's involvement in the relationship between a referrer and the company providing products and services? What's the remit?
Yes. So as I explained during the presentation, SLASSCOM as the industry association is essentially creating a platform. We are creating the platform and we are making it a two-sided platform. On one side are the Sri Lankan companies participating, and on the other side are the referrers. Hopefully some of you on this call. Our job as the platform is to connect the two parties. And then from that point onwards, we will let you all interact, form business relationships, strike agreements of all kinds, and carry on. And as and when needed, in some cases, I'm sure there might be the nature of business is such that there might be disputes, there might be disagreements, and so forth. You can reach out to us, and we will look into it. But I must stress that SLASSCOM is not going to get involved in the financial contracts between any referrer and any company, and the recourse that SLASSCOM as a organization has in such a case would be to look at the future of continuing that particular company or referrer in question in the program if we find their conduct to be not acceptable. So that would be the recourse. But of course, what the assurance that you do get by working with companies that are in this program is that, as opposed to a set of companies where you have absolutely no hold on them, it's a company in a completely different country bound by a different set of laws and so forth. There is at least an industry association that creates a fair amount of peer pressure for everyone to stay in line and behave, because everyone would recognize that the platform overall has value for everyone, and a negative impact on the image of that platform would be negative to all parties.
Yeah. So in a way, SLASSCOM gives a lot more peace of mind because you provide sort of quality assurance and guarantors, so making sure that your members adhere to a certain code of conduct.
Exactly.
You take a hands-off approach. Very good. Right. Right. One more question. I think this is again to you. Then we'll move on to a few more under different topics, IPR and SLASSCOM. If I were to form a relationship with the company as a referrer, is there any restrictions to me working directly with that company without sending any of my opportunities to SLASSCOM referral program?
No, there is none. The program is very open, and we would be delighted to have referrers who form long-term relationships with the companies that they find to be trustworthy and of high quality. So that is very much the purpose and the thinking behind the program, and that is naturally bound to happen as well. So as a referrer, the one advantage of utilizing the platform is that you would probably get exposure to more companies. Be able to select the company that is most relevant for the particular opportunity that you have in hand, given the previous track record, capability in delivering similar projects and so forth. So I believe there would be some argument for using the platform still, but it's very much up to the discussion of the referral.
Thank you, Udit. Now, there's another question here. Now, I don't know who would take this question. So, what is SLASSCOM's responsibility in protecting intellectual property rights of member companies and organizations? Will that be you or Channa? Or...
Channa, would you like to take a stab at it?
I'll let Ashik answer that question. Ashik,
okay.
Can you jump into that? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guarantee the intellectual property rights of companies coming to you?
Hi, this is Ashik from Colombo. As a country, we have fairly strong, robust legislation on intellectual property rights and the enforcement regime. So we, as a trade association, will not be an enforcer or a regulator in that sense. But as an industry association, we do promote best practices and good code of conduct among our members. And any such grievances about any of our member companies, we cannot influence companies that are not in our membership. But if they are outside, if they are inside our membership, we could take it up with them. Obviously, there are always two sides to a story, and there are arbitration panels, etc., legal arbitration panels, etc., to look at the genuineness and the claims of each parties, I would say. So yes, SLASSCOM cannot legally guarantee anything because we are a trade association, but we can certainly point towards, if it comes to legality, point towards the resources that are available in Sri Lanka to solve such problems or issues.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ashik. Now, the next question is there a mechanism in securing funding for development of innovative ideas, ventures, and what is SLASSCOM's role in that?
Well, I think, let me take that. So I think we have a strong entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem in Sri Lanka. SLASSCOM, through its Startup Sri Lanka program, we launched that in 5 years back. And through that, we have created a very vibrant ecosystem. In Sri Lanka, we have a very good investing community, whether it be for early idea startups to scale-ups to, so I think we have angel networks, high net worth individuals, and a strong investment ecosystem. So if anybody has a fantastic idea, we're happy to connect them to the ecosystem here if they're seeking funding, depending on the stage at which they are in the maturity of that ideation process.
Okay, so it's directly contacting SLASSCOM on that, yeah.
Now, Mervin, I believe we have a question from Malik. He's asking whether local IT companies, so I believe he's referring to Sri Lankan IT companies, would be required to register with SLASSCOM to be included in the program. And the answer to that question, Malik, is yes. As I said, right now the registration process is just about to close. So if you are involved in a company that would like to get into the program, you have practically until the end of the month, which is tomorrow now in Sri Lankan time, because it's Friday already. So you have 1 day to apply.
I think the question, Mudit, is whether they need to be a member company of SLASSCOM as against registering for the program if you're to benefit from it. I think that's the angle there.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I misunderstood the question. Yes, at this point, yes, the program is open to SLASSCOM companies.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, one more question on, is there any SLASSCOM guidelines or policy documents guarantees requirements in quality controlling performance of member organizations with respect to their products? I believe you pretty much covered that earlier on. You might be able to wrap it up fairly easily. So this question came a bit earlier. What are the sort of quality control mechanisms you have in place about the member companies, about the quality of the products that they would be providing, you know, in response to what the referrers may introduce?
Chanda, would you like to take a stab at it, probably referring to our
Yeah, I think,
product platform and so forth?
Yeah, so I think what we're doing is there are two things. So, we play a role of an enabler. So we have when it comes to our product companies, we have a fair number of product companies in our membership, and also we have services companies. So what we are doing is our role in terms of enabling quality and the maturity frameworks around that is to create awareness and also impart what you call upskilling and skilling opportunities for our companies. But I think in terms of quality of services delivery, it becomes a mutually contractual process between a company who is buying services and delivering services. So I think the pre-qualification process of a company in terms of the projects they have had, the successful referrals they have had, all that needs to be looked at when a referrer takes on board a company. So that's, I think, a due diligence process that, in my view, a referrer needs to kind of be comfortable with the company they're taking on board. And that's the process that I think the information that could be sought and could be facilitated by us.
Okay, so it will be between the companies. Yeah. A few more questions coming through. How would you support Sri Lankan students studying in the UK if they wish to return to Sri Lanka for employment in the IT sector after graduation?
I think we are in the lookout for good talent and great talent and with some global exposure. So I think if meeting those requirements, there are plenty of opportunities to, if you look at LinkedIn jobs, if you look at top jobs in Sri Lanka. So I think my advice is for them to directly apply and seek employment. And if you're an attractive talent proposition, there are enough job opportunities in the market here. Brilliant. But I think for you to come to Sri Lanka, I think you need to first be able to travel to Sri Lanka and be able to be mobile. I think the current environment that looks a bit bleak, but I think as and when the country opens up, I think there's opportunity for many of the Sri Lankans to come back and work. We have a program called Work in Sri Lanka, a program to support Sri Lankan returnees as well as Sri Lankan origin students to come back to Sri Lanka. And if anybody needs any help in that regard, they can reach out to the corporate office of SLASSCOM.
Right. Thank you, Channa.
If I may add a point, during the lockdown period, as starting from March onwards, one of the concerns that SLASSCOM had was about the industry downturn, whether there would actually be unemployment factors that kick in, especially in our industry, like in other parts of the world. And we were trying to bring up some mitigating strategies as to how to gainfully engage with the university graduates' outputs, because predominantly and historically, we have had full employment of all our graduates who come out of universities. They were easily able to find internships and job opportunities in the industry. And when the country was coming out of lockdown from May, June period, we as an industry association, we were a bit concerned about this. But I'm happy to say that as we kept a pulse check on the universities and we started rolling out alternate programs to engage with these university students, we were able to find out that in fact, their employment has picked up. Because of all the digital transformations that were going on in Sri Lanka and with our global clients, the employments have not really dipped down in Sri Lanka. So there's plenty of opportunities here still available.
That's the place to look for jobs then. Right. There's another question. Is there a roadmap towards inviting international universities and helping them to set up operations, physical presence, regional outlets, Sri Lankan camps there, rather than current setup of affiliations and offering recognized degrees and certificates?
Perhaps Sanjay can answer that from BOI. I know there's some thoughts going into that in terms of attracting world-class universities. Sanjay, do you have any comments?
See Sanjay, see on mute. If we can't address that, I'm happy to, we can sort of put a written response to that, since it's a bit of a long question.
Sure, I think I think we have a strong private sector university system where the government has encouraged Sri Lankan universities to private sector universities to offer UGC, University Grant Commission offered local degrees. That's one of the opening ups that was done and liberalization that were done by the government. So we have a very strong private sector, about 7 to 8 universities who are offering local degrees at affordable cost. The question appears to be in terms of attracting international university come and set up in Sri Lanka. I think from a policy perspective, my understanding is that government is open to it, but I think it's still early days for government in terms of prioritizations. I think we need to have some further clarity from governments. I think I'm unable to give a very definitive answer on that, honestly.
Okay, thank you. Now we have many more written questions that would take a long time, but the message coming through is to say, let's open up for networking where this may be discussed, but anything that we could not cover, we may be able to provide some written answers because of the sheer number of questions. So Dilanga, if you want to sort of facilitate the more people to network and communicate, that would be great. If it is appropriate, I'm happy to keep raising questions until that happens.
Yeah, keep going, Mervyn. Yeah.
Okay, let me read one more question. I don't know who can take this one. This says, can you expand on the £150,000 minimum investment for tax exemptions? How is this calculated? Do we need to show money in the bank, or do we need to employ staff to this amount? Is that a question for BOI or SLASSCOM?
I think BOI, if Sanjay can answer that, that will be great. Sanjay, are you there?
Yeah, Sanjay, we can see you, we can't hear you.
Hi, you can hear me? Sorry.
Now we can, yeah.
Sorry about
Sanjay,
that.
Sanjay, there were two questions which came here, I think, which we wanted directed to you. One was on the policy direction around attracting overseas universities to set up in Sri Lanka physically, as against the affiliated model of where we have Sri Lankan agents or Sri Lankan bodies who are delivering courses where the degrees are offered from the universities overseas. And the second question was around clarity around the $150,000 investment requirement.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think on the first one, like on the education point of view, there's a effort that's underway through UGC and the Higher Education Institute to regularize and streamline all the university providing or education providing entities in Sri Lanka. So along with that, there will be some sort of framework in terms of what would be the setup, that's minimum setup that's needed in Sri Lanka for to be considered as a university or a degree awarding institute. In terms of the minimum investments needed, so that needs to be brought into the country. So there will be a measure using an account and how much money had come into the account. And that has to typically be working capital and the capital equipment or capital expenditure to be able to set up. So the money needs to come in and needs to be verified that the money and the investment has come into the country. and then we can look at, then that will be assessed as the minimum investments in the country.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking at the agenda and the time. What we would do now is we'll go to the very last item of the agenda, which is the vote of thanks. After that, we'll throw the floor open for anyone who has the time. I know it's midnight in Sri Lanka, Colombo, etc. But I really hope on account of being Poya Day, the full moon day tomorrow, the panel would kindly stay behind a little bit in case there is interest and people wanting to talk. So let's start with the vote of thanks, and then we'll see how much there is demand and people staying to stay behind and network and communicate. So to do that, let me invite Dr. Lakmini Mendis, the key person behind this operation that took place quite successfully today. She's the Minister of Commercial Services in Sri Lankan High Commission, London, to do the vote of thanks. Lakmini.
Thank you, Mr. Mervyn Silva. At the outset, let me thank APSL, an organization which this mission has been working very closely, agreeing to partner with us when we mooted this idea. Especially Dr. Mahesh De Silva, President of APSL, Executive Committee members, Dr. Leshan Uggala, Mr. Leslie Datt, and Mr. Mervyn Silva, the past president, for all the hard work and the time spent organizing this event with us and the SLASSCOM. It was indeed a pleasurable experience. Next is SLASSCOM and the team accepting this mission's invitation to launch their new product, Global Referral Program, in the UK among the British, Sri Lankan professionals and the other interested parties. So let me thank for the unwavering support and the effort extended by Mr. Manoharan, Chairman of SLASSCOM, Mr. Ashik Ali, Mr. Shiraz Lai, Mr. Mudit Swatta, Mr. Mifam Siddiq, and Ms. Dilanga Kulasena, and also the others, including Ms. Claudia of my division, who also worked tirelessly behind the stage to make this event a success. I believe the audience will agree with me. Today, we experience outstanding presentations and rich discussions on the IT/BPM sector, investment opportunities, and on the SLASSCOM Global Referral Program. So on the same note, let me thank the speakers. Mrs. Saroja Sirisena, High Commissioner of Sri Lanka in the UK, for the inspiring opening remarks and support extended all time. Dr. Mahesh De Silva for explaining the activities and projects conducted by the APSL, Sri Lankan Community Development. Mr. Muhattala, DGBOI, his presentation on the emerging investment opportunities in ICT sector and the way forward towards a knowledge-driven economy. Next, Mr. Manoharan, Chairman SLASSCOM, for taking us through the Sri Lankan ICT sector and the journey, elaborating a country known for its beaches, sand, and tea and cricket, now to be branded as the island of ingenuity, our talent, and be pinned on the map as the next IT/BPM destination. Taking us forward, thank you, Mr. Uswata, Marketing Forum led, for presenting the Global Referral Program and sharing practical and pragmatic examples with us today. Also, a big thank you to our moderator, Mr. Mervyn Silva, for moderating the event and also for creating the registration link and managing the process. Last but not least, today we have over 150 registered participants for this event. In my view, it is amazing to attract such numbers in a short period. So it shows the curiosity to know more about the ICT sector, what Sri Lanka could offer, and to explore ways how to contribute and partner with the country's development process. So thank you everyone for your engagement. I hope this webinar would have been useful and informative. Finally, please feel free to contact the SLASSCOM for inquiries on the Global Referral Program and the commercial section of this mission if you need any further assistance at any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mendis, for those very kind words. I too like to echo that. It's being a pleasure and an honor working with such a professional team to make this happen within such a short time. So this brings to an end our formal proceedings. Thank you everyone for your patience and participation. So if anyone would like to log out, if you had enough of us, feel free to do that. And if you still want to stay behind and network, the opportunities there for a limited amount of time. Thank you.
Hi, George. We can hear you. You can raise your question to us.
Yeah,
Right.
I know you covered mostly the ICT sector. Is that Mrs. Mendes who spoke just now?
Mrs. Mendes is in the, she can hear you.
Okay, all right. No, because I met her and her colleague some time ago. It's George Abraham. In the ICT sector, one of the things that obviously you're looking at, creating opportunities for tech companies and ICT companies to develop products for, challenges for customers overseas. But the other side of the coin, I just wondered whether the ICT sector and SLASSCOM is looking at the future of ICT and other areas that are in high demand, particularly in the area of AI, big data, and fintech plus cybersecurity, because these are really key, fast-growing sectors within ICT and fintech. And I just wondered your view and throw some light into that sort of space, please.
Mudit, you might want to take that question.
I believe Ashik or Channa would probably be able to give a more comprehensive answer here.
Sure. I think it's a very interesting question and also a very relevant question to ask. Yes, you're spot on. So we have, in my presentation, as I mentioned, we have basically focused on the 8 essentials, as I mentioned, on the emerging technologies. And we have companies who are already in that space, whether it be fintech, whether it be in AI, whether it's in the analytics space, machine learning, and I think even in intelligent process automation, we have capabilities within our membership and in the country. What we are trying to do through our digital, the industry accelerators, we are creating centers of excellence around those emerging technologies and high demand technologies. So as we speak, we have already launched 3 accelerators, that is in the Product and Platform Council, to create a high-end product companies from the ideation to funding to scaling up to exit. And we have already got 15 product company CEOs contributing to that initiative, and you'll be hearing more on that. We also have the AI Center of Excellence, which will be launched in a week's time. There too, the whole idea is to position Sri Lanka's capabilities as a AI hub in Asia. We already have AI policy that we collaborate with government in launching. That's in draft form. We also have had 2 AI Asia summits, which were hosted by SLASSCOM, bringing in international expertise and collaborations and showcasing Sri Lankan companies who are doing some exciting stuff in that space. So we are going to have an AI Asia summit happening in the next 3 to 4 months. We will say, hope we'll be having a virtual access to that conference as well. So we'll keep you posted. And I think there's enough opportunity for companies to come and invest and also collaborate with those companies. In the cyberspace, definitely it's a huge market opportunity and a growing area. And we have just launched a Cyber Center of Excellence to capitalize on that opportunity. So we are looking at several fronts. One on the market intelligence, market access side. Other is the creating the capacity and capabilities to leverage on the opportunities, and also the in terms of upskilling and also creating up-to-date curriculum and content at the university level as well. On the RPA Center of Excellence is also about to be launched soon. So I think there is a good fintech ecosystem in Sri Lanka. There are several startups in that space, and also we just had a fintech event recently where most of the local banks had the opportunity to listen to most of the fintech companies in Sri Lanka, and that was hosted by Lanka Angel Network and Hatch in collaboration with the Ford Foundation. So those are some of the initiatives. Happy to connect with you if you need any further information.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to raise a question, just indicate by putting your hands up and Dilanga would unmute you.
Are you
Good
good? We
evening.
can hear. Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Upul Veerasinghe. Just a quick question, really, to the panel. What sort of accreditation criteria you have in place currently when you're registering companies in Sri Lanka with the SLASSCOM? The reason I'm asking is that due to pandemic, I'm from the industry in UK for been working for 20 years now. There are specific gaps in the market being identified due to pandemic, especially in the data analytics and BI sector. There are current opportunities already, which I'm quite keen to pitch to companies. So my question is that what sort of accreditation criteria you have in place already for me to find out, so rather than as a referrer for me to me having to go through the actual accrediting these companies. That's what I heard from the presentation. Maybe I got it wrong. I just want to find out what sort of accreditation criteria you have to ratify these companies before you take them all on board.
Mudit, would you like to take that? So when you, I think the question is when you're on board, are you? The question is about the general SLASSCOM membership.
It's about the general SLASSCOM membership onboarding process, Chanda. Not
it
about
is, yes.
onboarding. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so typically, I mean, as a chamber, our onboarding process is pretty straightforward. So I think we need two SLASSCOM member companies referring this company to be of good standing, but that does not necessarily mean that we accredit their services and products. It's like in any trade, it's a relationship between the buyer and the seller, and therefore that due diligence is left to the two parties to go through in a commercial process. So what we look at is two member companies referring companies of B2B in good standing, but not necessarily doing extensive due diligence on their products and services that they offer.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add a point on that, if you're looking for specific domain or technology, so to speak, not necessarily accreditation, but something very specific to the solution that you're looking for, we have good, reasonably well profiles of this company. We have something called, we are building something called a capability matrix, which looks at both the industry verticals that they serve and the technologies that they use. So those can be made available if you specifically say, I would want to look at companies which are working in oil and gas field, or horizontally, maybe you'd say, no, I would like to look at companies which are in the data analytics, or a combination of both.
Yeah, but I think the question is around, one is on, it's a self-declared process, right? So I don't think we provide, we don't provide an assurance.
That's right. That's right.
We don't provide an assurance, but we can share where it will sort of expedite your process of at least knowing companies with capabilities that they have kind of indicated. I think that process we are happy to facilitate. I think that's the service that we provide. But then that point onwards, in terms of verifying the capabilities and ability to deliver on projects and all that, I think that's a commercial due diligence process that one has to follow.
Okay. I'm conscious of the time for everyone involved. So by way of bringing this to a close, one option might be there may be questions people want to raise. And is there a place, is there a link or an address with SLASSCOM or BOI that we can publish for people to sort of raise these questions and get answered that they can be made available? If there is, we can sort of share it with the, the people who have registered. We can sort of pass it on to them, or we could also show it on the chat now if somebody wants to take note of that now. Yeah.
We have given an email address of Lanka to contact,
yeah.
so I think so anybody can email any further questions on that on the chat group. Yeah.
Sure, sure. If that is the case, I feel it's good time that we bring this event to a close by thanking everyone for taking part and your active participation. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mervyn. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Mervyn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mervyn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
මට අහන්න question නැහැ බබ් මේකේ.